Hi, everybody. It's Sarah Gallagher. Sorry for the few minutes late. I apologize for it. I don't know who's here. If you are here, I would like to say first of all, before I get into this presentation, thank you very much for being here. I know it is difficult to take some time away from your kids, but I appreciate the fact that you're able to take that time for yourself to learn about this very important thing, which I think we need to talk about, which is why people ghost the grieving. And as you know, this is a horrible thing that happens to all of us. And before we go into any further, there is a siren outside. I would like to, first of all, thank you very much for being here. If you happen to be here for the live, do put #live in the comments. When you put a comment in, it will ask you, Facebook will ask you whether you're allowed to give your information to StreamYard. StreamYard is the program that I'm using for this presentation. It needs to have your allowances, your permission to be able to post your comments so I can see them. If you post them directly into Facebook, I will see them, but I'm not going to see them until after the presentation. So if you want me to see them live, if you want me to answer them live, perfect. I saw #live. Whoever put down #live, I can't see who you are, but I do see your comment. So that's good. That's a good start. If you're here for the replay, do play #replay because I will be doing this as a replay for anybody who will not be here. And in case you are seeing the replay or here, I would like you to know everybody who signed up for this is going to get a copy of the freebie, which I'll talk about later. But very briefly, it is a freebie that I've created to help you and your other people, friends, family, whoever you want to be part of your grief circle going forward, help them understand what you need to hear as compassionate condolences, what they should say instead. Instead of the horrible things, hear the horrible things, hear the horrible things, here are the things you should say instead, and this is the mind shift. So anybody who's here, if you are here, put #live in the comments. If you're here for the replay, because there will be a replay, put #replay, and just stick around to the end, which we are going to have a live Q&A session. This is going to be a lot of information. I'm a little bit late also. I have been working. Hey, hi. See that you're here live. I got 2 Facebook users who are live. I can't see who you are, though. 3 of you. Woohoo! This is good. I'm hoping more people show up the more. We have 27 people who are on the email list. I'm not sure who's going to show up, but we'll find out. So without further ado, because it's now 9 minutes past the half an hour, I do want to be respectful of your time. This is a lot of content. I've been working full steam on this all day today, a good 7 hours on this, and I just barely managed to slip in at the end. And that's to say, I've also been working on it this past week. A lot of content. I'm very excited to show it to you. So take notes. Do put down what you need to know as you're doing it. Comment here in the live as you come up to things, what you want me to talk about. But if you can't stick around to the end, there will be a live Q&A. Okay. So that being said, let's start the presentation. I'm going to change my screen here. Does that work better? That's that. Here we go. Okay. So why do people ghost the grieving? Understanding why. Let me go back to my notes. Give me a sec. And I was going to go my other rows. Give me a sec. I got too many screens going on here. There we go. All right. Why do people ghost the grieving? This is not particularly the funnest thing in the world, is it? I mean, as you probably know, it's the grieving process in general is not fun. And here we go. Okay, so let me do one more thing. Perfect. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, introduction. Hi. So if you're here, first of all, as I said before, thank you very much for being here. I think it's amazing that you took the time out to do this. I'm going to try to be as respectful of your time as possible. As I mentioned before, this is a lot of content. I'm going to try to keep this within the hour, which means I'm going to have to power through this. If you have a question, I will try to get to it during the presentation. If not, I'll be able to answer at the very end. So why do people ghost the grieving? So if you're here, it is likely because you've gone through or are going through your own grief. And it's highly likely that you've experienced this horrible phenomenon of your friends ghosting you. You're here because you want to understand why people ghost, the importance of why friends drift away, and understanding the how of navigating this isolation. Now, this topic is close to my heart because every single griever I've come across in my 5 years of coaching widows has had this happen to them. When we lose the love of our life, we turn to our family and our friends for support, for understanding, and a sense of peace. However, most often than not, most friends tend to gradually fade away or even completely disappear after the funeral, leaving us, the grievers, abandoned and alone. This phenomenon is also referred to as ghosting the grieving. It's confusing, it's hurtful, and it complicates an already difficult grieving process. It's a topic I brought up a few times before, as it's such a prevalent occurrence that it's almost an official rite of passage. Tonight, we're going to dive into the intricacies of why people may ghost those who are grieving, which shedding light on the reasons behind this perplexing behavior. Understanding these reasons is crucial to navigating this painful aspect of life. We're also going to explore the impact of ghosting on grievers and provide practical strategies for coping with feeling abandoned. By understanding the reasons behind this behavior and knowing it is not a reflection of our own worth or the validity of our grief, we can begin to navigate this difficult situation with more compassion for ourselves and for others. Okay, so that's the whole thing we're going through. So the main topics, I'm going to rebrief them again. There's explaining the phenomenon of grief, ghosting the grieving. There's the complexity of grief, which I'm just going to briefly go over because we all know how complex grief is. I'm going to talk about the importance of understanding why friends may drift away, the importance of the impact of ghosting on the grieving, the importance of compassion and empathy, and your next steps. Stick with it. I like to go through all of it. So, brief introduction. My name is Sarah Gallagher. I can't see my last name properly. I am the founder of Widowed Solo Parenting, the Facebook group. I'm also a grief coach. I'm a widow mentor. I am a course developer. I am I'm a friend and for anybody who's grieving and going through any kind of mourning. I am not afraid of your grief, and I can handle it. Okay. I've gone through my own. I get that. I understand it. I've been a widow since 2014. I've been a coach since 2018. And I'm a solo mother and of 2 kids who are currently 11 and 7. And what I do is that I help widowed single parents. So not single parents. That's a completely different thing. Widowed solo parents discover their new identity, which gives them hope for the future and gives them that spark in their life again, what they desperately need. So fun facts, I've been coaching. I've been coaching widows since 2018. I've been guiding them towards their new identities and their renewed passion for life. My background is a project manager. I've been a project manager for 13 years. Before that, and even during that, I was also a content developer, content expert, online content expert for educational publishing and marketing, a little bit for mostly for educational work. I am an INJF, so I am an introvert who desires to help others above all else, which is why I'm doing this, because I'm an introvert, and here I am still doing this. I'm a book lover. I am a cat lover, and I'm a believer of magic. I'll get into that a little bit later on. But so, my brief grief story. Yeah, I get some water. Try that again. My grief story. So when I was 37, my husband unexpectedly died. I came home to find him blue. It was fun. He was 40. I was 37. My son was 2.5, and my daughter wasn't even born yet. She was just like a concept. A year after my husband died, I decided to continue our dream of having 2 kids. So I went and I got donor sperm, and I used IUI, which basically means I got turkey basted. And truth be told, I actually got pregnant the first try. Bam. So she was meant to be here. And although my son is my husband's biological son, my daughter shares a sky daddy with him. They both have the same sky daddy. And which also means that both of them are growing up in full awareness that they have a dead father in their lives, which is completely normalized, by the way. And we speak of them often. So After my husband died, my life got kind of complicated. A year after he died, when I was just starting to get out of my fog, out of the reaction of life, I was trying to be more proactive, trying to figure things out, trying to get my life in gear. Decide to have the kid, go, let's do this thing. I decided I'm going to do this, right? I decided I'm going to have my second child on my own. It was a big decision, and the reason why I decided to have her is because I realized that I would never regret having another kid in my life, but I would regret if I didn't try. Again, first try. She's meant to be here. So I was pregnant. I just found out I was pregnant, and we got kicked out of our house. Our landlord decided that we were going to take the house we were renting. They were going to kick us out because they wanted to sell it. So I was basically homeless or couch surfing for a few months there. I eventually found a place. I had my daughter. My kid was in kindergarten. I had a baby. It was fun. Plus, I was in my second year of grief. How that was, wow, a rock slide. And going through all this, I figured out my own identity and my own new life. And because I had to do this on my own, because there were no supports out there for young widows with kids. So I learned through my own personal struggle on my own with my two young kids, and how to find myself. And I figured out, honestly, it took a lot. And I'd love to share this with you. It's what I do. It's what I help people. It took me 4 years. For 4 years to work my way out of the fog and into my life. And that's honestly, it's pretty typical. Typically, it takes about 4 years for anybody to figure out what they're going through next. I discovered I was more than a widow, and I discovered how to reconcile my heart and my mind to reclaim my life. And my life work is you. So my outrageous goal is to normalize life. Western society is terrible at encompassing grief into life. And I now work to solve this problem one widow at a time. As I mentioned before, most widows take 4 years to come into their new identities, but it doesn't have to take that long. Most widows have to struggle on their own to figure out how to reconcile their new life with their old one. But you can figure out how to move forward in your new life with the memories of your loved one supporting you. You don't ever have to feel that you're leaving them behind because they're coming with you. So clarity first. First of all, I want to say that I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry that you're here. I'm very sorry that you have to listen to this talk, but I am very glad that you are here. This talk is specifically about friends ghosting. There are a lot of different aspects out there about grief. We can talk, I'll bring up a couple of them as we go into this because some of them dovetail very nicely into other things. But that being said, this is specifically for friends ghosting. There are other resources available that I do have. There are other video trainings, there's other courses, there's other freebies, lots of stuff. But it's not going to be covered in here. But just to say it is being covered, just not this particular presentation. Okay, so hold on to that thought. I also want to let you know that as I do, that coaching and therapy are related, but they're not the same. So what I'm doing right now, what I'm teaching you, this is more actionable steps forward. This is what a coach does. Therapy is fantastic. Grief therapy is fantastic to help you figure out your past and get a nice solid foundation. Once you've gotten that solid foundation and you have a better idea of where you are, where you want to go next, that's what coaching is. Figuring out with actionable steps to go forward. And I also want to clarify that localized resources will not be covered. I'd like to say that I would love to have ideas of where you can go, where you can go directly on your next street or your next city or your next county or whatever. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. Okay. Most of my people in this group or from here are from the United States. Okay. And I understand, but we also have people from Wales. We have people from South America. We have people from South Africa. We got people from Ireland. We got people all over the place. And I cannot have the resources to have for every localized resource out there. I can give you tips for generalized. And if you need help for me to help you find localization, we can do that. But this is not the time for that. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go forward. So first, let me explain the phenomenon of ghosting the grieving. Okay, so when we lose the love of our life, we turn to our friends and our families for support, for understanding, and for a sense of peace. However, more often than not, most friends tend to gradually fade away or even disappear after the funeral, leaving us, the grievers, abandoned and alone. This phenomenon is often referred to as ghosting the grieving, and it's confusing, it's hurtful, and it complicates an already difficult grieving process. So this is a topic, as I mentioned, is really close to me. It's such a prevalent occurrence. It's almost become almost like an official rite of passage. So let me take a drink of water. Let's paint a picture. Let's paint a picture. 1 minute, you're enjoying life as a wife and a mother, making progress on those plans you've been dreamed up with your spouse. The next, that life is ripped away from you. Suddenly, it's just you with your children, bewildered that all of a sudden you're a widow. You're in shock without a clue of what to do next or how to do it. And I get this. When my Mike died, I had this giant circle of supportive friends who came out of the woodwork to help me when word got out that he was in therapeutic hypothermia in the hospital. But then they just faded away after the funeral. So I got good news for you. First of all, it's not you. It's really not. It happens to everyone. The bad news is that although you get condolences at the beginning, let's face it, they're not particularly consoling, right? Those condolences you get. So stick around the end, and I'll share a resource with you guys that goes into dealing with those condolences. But for the most part, your social circle, they're going to drop out of existence, and it leaves you to fend off this overwhelming life of a mourning widow on your own. So let's get into the practicalities of why people ghost the grieving. So ghosting, the grieving, refers to the situation where friends or your acquaintances, they gradually withdraw or completely cut off contact with someone who is grieving the loss of a loved one. It's characterized by a sudden absence or lack of communication, leaving the griever feeling abandoned and isolated during a time when they need support the most. Now, you've probably already experienced things such as friends not returning calls or messages, avoiding any kind of social interaction with you as the griever, or they just abruptly end your established friendship. They've deliberately emotionally disconnected from you, choosing to distance themselves from you and your grief-propelled life. So let's get into the different reasons why people decide to ghost the grieving. So first, they have the fear of saying or doing the wrong thing. Okay, some individuals may be unsure about how to support someone in grief and fear, and they're afraid of unintentionally causing further pain or discomfort, which leads them to withdraw further rather than risk saying or doing something inappropriate. Another problem we could have is that they have a discomfort with confronting their own mortality. The reality of death can be uncomfortable and it's unsettling, right? They might find that avoid you, the grieving person, as a way to avoid their own feelings and vulnerability and confronting the fragility of life. And we'll get into all these deeper later on. There's the inability to relate to or understand the grieving person's experience. Now, grief is a deeply personal and unique experience. Friends who have not experienced significant loss themselves may struggle to emphasize or understand the emotions and challenging that a grieving person is facing. Personal avoidance of sadness and grief. So some individuals have difficulty dealing with their own emotions, particularly sadness and grief. They could find it challenging to be around someone who's openly grieving, and it may trigger their own unresolved feelings or discomfort. There's also the lack of awareness about the long-term nature of grief. So society often expects individuals to move on or get over their loss, within a certain time frame. Friends usually lack awareness about the long-lasting impacts of grief, and they may mistakenly assume that you as a grieving person should have already moved past their pain, which leads them as the friends to withdraw. How come you're not done with it yet, right? So this overview of the training purpose is to understand understand and to navigate the situation. So it's important to note that while these reasons may shed light on why people ghost us, the grievers, they do not justify or excuse this behavior, because ghosting can magnify the pain of loss and create an even more emotional distress for the griever, right? You guys agree with any of this? Let me know at any point, like this comes up, and that's actually that makes you feel like you actually get what I'm talking about, right? This is supposed to be not just me yelling at you. I would love to have some interaction. So briefly, let's go over the complexity of grief. So I'm going to do a brief discussion on the nature of grief and its impact on individuals. So I'm going to be frank. It is a very, 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 very hard thing to look straight into the face of pain, right? It's a natural instinct for anyone not to be around grief or just to get away from it as soon as possible. I mean, wouldn't you love to get out of this current life? Like, wouldn't you love to say, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Thank you. Whoever said that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I know. Oh my God. I know. Ghosting is more traumatizing than the husband's death. Oh my God. Thank you. And it's great. I put so much effort into this. So I'm so glad that this is exactly resonating with you because it happens to everybody and it sucks. So let me go through this and just very briefly because grief in itself is so complex and it's ridiculous. So it's a natural and incredibly complex emotional response to loss, right? It's a deeply personal experience that encompasses a whole range of emotions and thoughts and physical sensations. I mean, did anybody tell you? Like, not only the fact that grief is all the emotion. I got my cat here. Cat falling off. I hit all this emotions going on. It's not just the grief or the sadness. There's anger, frustration. There's almost kind of relief to it. Sometimes it's happiness. Sometimes it's a whole bunch of stuff. But it also invades your thoughts. And there's physical symptoms. Like, who told you about that? And it's also important to notice that everyone's grief journey is unique, which is influenced by various factors, which includes cultural, religious, and personal beliefs, as well as the nature of your relationship to the dead. Right? Not everybody's going to be like the best footing with their spouse when they die. Or maybe they had the fantastic footing. Everybody is different, right? And which means they're going to be reacting to it differently. And this is compounded exponentially when the death is that of a husband or a wife, because this contains a slew of secondary losses, right? It's not just like that your husband died. It's not just that like it's not just it's this. There's like I can get over. I mean, again, this is like completely different like topic altogether, but all the different secondary losses, which someone mentioned in one of the Facebook comments, and I want to acknowledge it. I want to touch upon it. That's all I'm doing because it's huge. The secondary losses. I'll even put up a graphic later on about how everything's connected and like, oh my God, it's crazy. Anyway, I gotta stop myself because I'm gonna go off track and I don't want to. It's important, guys, to realize that there is no right or normal way to grieve. Okay, despite what some doctors or some therapists or even some grief workers may have suggested, there is no right or normal way. And this also includes this commonly referenced stages of grief. Okay, which though are applicable to certain degrees, they do not apply to the griever. Let me say that again, because this is a hill that I will die on. The stages of grief do not apply to the griever. And I would gladly share my opinions and learning on the topic. But again, I'm going to stop now because before I monopolize this particular training on ghosting. There's so much about this. So grief does manifest in a wide range of emotions, such as sadness, anger, guilt, confusion, and even relief. And these emotions can come in waves and they may fluctuate over time, which leads to a roller coaster of feelings. It is not uncommon for individuals to experience conflicting emotions simultaneously or to feel a sense of numbness or detachment from reality, right? I mean, where are you right now? Do you feel like all the emotions and you just can't like understand what's going on because it's like everything all at once? You like those waves coming and going. Like sometimes you feel everything, other times you feel nothing. Do you walk around with this like this numbness all the time? Or in your own little bubble where you just can't connect with society or anything else because it's like it's not real. It can't be real. This is my life. What? Like it's all of these impacts of grief. Do you feel any of that? I'd love to know. And so I'm going to go about all the different levels that affects you. Again, I'm going to try to do this briefly. So there's emotional impact. So grief can bring about obviously all these different emotional pains and this deep sense of sadness, but it also leads to feelings of loneliness, of emptiness, and of course, longing for the person that you lost, right? And for example of this, so when you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, they're obviously parent companies, you see all these pictures of happy couples doing their little happy couple things with their little happy children and their happy little lives. And it twists this knife, especially when you don't have that anymore. Like you're on Facebook right now. Like, do you get that? Okay. Yeah. My brain and my body can't handle it. Totally. Absolutely. It can't. Like, have you, has it ever had to handle it before? No. Like, of course, it's like, ugh. And there's a physiological reason for that too, which I'll bring up a little, tiny bit later. So anyway, as you're going through Facebook and you're going through Instagram and you're realizing, oh my God, all these people have what I want, it makes you feel like you're on this kind of like you're on this remote island already. You're on this remote island where no one else is. And seeing these pictures of these other worlds makes you feel even more remote than before. So consequently, it's really frustrating knowing that your well wishers can't pick they can just pick up and move on with their lives. Which you can't, because your life has changed fundamentally. And it doesn't help when they promise to be here for you in your grief and they're not. Okay, so that's the emotional impact. So I kind of segued a little bit into how to people, but so the cognitive impact. So grief can disrupt cognitive functioning, making it difficult to concentrate, remember things, or make decisions. Hello, widow's fog, right? It can also create intrusive thoughts or preoccupied with memories of the person or that thing that was lost. For example, your mind going over and over and over with the events leading up to and accumulating in that day. I was stuck finding my husband forever, just every single little detail there. And then like the days afterwards of being in limbo in the hospital were magnified again and again and again. It just, how your brain's trying to make sense of it, okay? There's a physical impact. Like, again, who told me about physical stuff? It can manifest physically, right? It causes problems like constant fatigue, changes in appetite, sleep disturbances. I mean, this includes both falling asleep and staying asleep, which doesn't help with the constant fatigue going on. The sudden aches and pains, right? And of course, even the worsening existing health conditions. That's the physical impact. Then we have the social impact, which it impacts their social relations and social interactions and relationships, where some individuals may find a sense of isolation or withdrawal from social activities, while others might try to find support and connection from friends, families, or support groups. And we're going to get more into this as we talk about this. Then there's a spiritual impact, so for individuals with religious or spiritual beliefs, grief can raise existential questions and prompt a search for meaning and a purpose in life. There's all these things of grief. This is a lot, right? And this is stuff that we go through. And it's important to recognize that grief is a process that takes time and it varies in duration for each person, okay? The intensity of grief may lessen over time, but it does not necessarily mean that one gets over the loss. Instead, we have to learn to adapt to new reality and to integrate this loss into our lives. We literally have to learn how to walk with grief. And it's possible without like weeping unconsolably the whole entire time. It gets better. It does. It gets better. And we'll get into this. Grief is not a do it once and just done kind of process. You're going to have a dead person, a dead spouse, a dead parent in for your children in your life. And it fundamentally changes you for your life. You have to be patient with yourself and others as we navigate this really challenging and transformative grief journey. Okay. So that was a lot already. Oh, my family. Oh my God. Life goes on for them and they forgot about you. Oh my God. Yeah. I hate that. That's absolutely right. I mean, your life stops and they keep going and you're like, wait. How come you get to keep going? Why am I here? I had to hear. I had to keep going. That future that's not there anymore, right? What happened to it? It's really distressing. My family could not understand why I had to take naps after every little task. Exhaustion, like, oh my goodness. Because again, it's all of these things. It's emotional, it's cognitive, it's physical, all of this, right? So of course you're going to be freaking exhausted. And to put on top of that, which I haven't even got into yet, the solo parenting part of it. So you're not just taking care of your own grief and trying to get all through the things, and you're just trying to learn how to breathe sometimes. You're also taking care of your kids. That's exhausting, right? Ask any parent who's taking care of their kids for like a 24-hour stretch. Ask any parent who's gone through freaking COVID and had to be isolated for a couple of weeks or months or whatever. It's tough. And you have to do this while you're grieving. all the stuff going on in your head, yeah, you're going to be tired. All right, so let's keep going, guys. Again, I can go on this for forever, and I don't want to because I don't want to go past an hour. I think we might already. All right, so the importance of understanding why friends may drift away. So let me give you my own personal example. Okay, this is my own personal story. A few days after my husband's wake, and get some water. I'm gonna run out of water soon. A few days after the wake, which happened to be a rave in my DJ's husband's honor, we had a large group of friends come up north to camp. Okay, and we set up tents in a friend's backyard, and we had this wonderful night of drinking and telling stories about Mike, and we burned his cherished, though I thought ugly, coffee table in effigy, right? Because he wanted to have this Viking-style funeral, but, the local law enforcement would kind of object to a flaming pyre. So that was what we did. We burned his coffee table in effigy as the flaming pyre. Anyway, it was incredibly cathartic. The whole entire experience was incredibly cathartic, and it was supportive. And it felt that we're all coming together in this big, giant hug to celebrate the most wonderful man that my husband was. The next morning, as I woke up in my tent, I heard laughing and the rhubarb of people hanging out, having a good time. The solemnness of this the night before had dissipated with the night sky. Yet my heart was still in incredible pain and my head was spinning. It was like they had just shrugged off a coat that didn't fit anymore. Doesn't fit. Don't want it. Done. I was still wearing that coat. Kind of stuck. Zipper doesn't want to come off. Doesn't fit. I don't like it either. I'm stuck with it. And this was my incredible moment of shock when I realized that my life had changed forever and I didn't fit in with their world anymore. And I was in a place where only I resided. And it hurt. That moment in the early morning starkly began my early stages of grief, where my head and my heart, they couldn't talk to each other. And I was so lost and confused. And if I had known what I know now, then I would have had the capacity and I would have had the tools to know what to communicate to those who I know would help and which have greatly supported me in my grief journey. And I know now that would have really shortened my mourning period significantly, which is why we're here, right? Can any of that resonate with any of you? So next thing is there's the fear of saying, let me see if I'm going to go ahead. Okay, yeah. So there's the fear of saying or doing the wrong thing. Okay, so there's that lack of communication and support skills. So supporting someone who is grieving, it requires effective communication and it requires active listening and it provides additional support. Okay, this is why coaching can be incredibly amazing because there's effective communication, there's active listening, and there's additional support. And unless somebody has learned these necessary skills or has the knowledge required to offer support, they're going to find it challenging to relate to a griever. So most times, as they lack this empathy that grievers are desperate for, it can come out as insensitive comments. It can come across as dismissive attitudes or just a basic lack of understanding, which will heighten their inability to relate or offer meaningful support. There's an inability to relate or to understand the griever's experience. So just today, one of my clients was at a loss about how to explain exactly what she was feeling because it was one of an array of different emotions. They're all competing with each other to be heard. And it's often too much for a griever to comprehend in their first years of grief. So unless you've gone through it yourself, you're not going to be able to get it. Right. And I have a lot to say about this, which I've decided to move over, honestly, to another talk that I'm going to be doing called Empathy in Action. Here's how to answer when people ask you how you're doing, which I'd love to know if you want to get part of that. If you want to hear more about empathy in action, it's actually the second thing that you guys put on your poll. It was neck and neck. So the next talk I'm going to do, or not one of the talks I'm going to be doing later is this is called Empathy in Action, is how to answer when people ask you how you're doing. The big question, how you doing? So if you want to know more about that, do comment and let me know. And when it goes live, I'll tag you in it. Okay. So there's this discomfort of dealing with their own their own mortality. So this is a big one. I think I actually made this as its only second. Yes. Okay. So this is a big one. Okay. Why I put it in its own different slide. So this is a big one. It's a common response to be uncomfortable when confronting one's own mortality when faced with the loss and grief of others. All of them, right? Being around someone who has been literally touched by death, it's a direct reminder of their own inevitable mortality. And this close proximity to death, it instills feelings of unease, of anxiety, and even vulnerability, which often stems from several underlying factors. So the first is fear of death. Death is a universal and deeply existential topic that can call up a range of emotions and thoughts. I mean, there's so many books about this, right? Fiction and nonfiction. Many individuals, many of us, we fear the unknown, the end of existence, and the uncertainty of what comes after death. So when confronted with somebody else's mortality through their grief, it often serves as a stark reminder of their own mortality. And that confrontation of their own insecurity of the afterlife when death is starkly in their face, it intensifies those fears and anxieties. The second was the awareness of vulnerability. So, witnessing somebody else's grief and loss can make people acutely aware of their own vulnerability and the fragility of life. It's like when people stop to crane their necks around to see what happened in a car crash. Yeah, sure, there's a sensationalism of it, but there's also that need of relief that it's not them. It can be incredibly disturbing to be forced to confront the reality that life is transitioned and unpredictable, which can be entirely unsettling. And who wants to be around that, right? I mean, would you want to be around that? You already are. Tough luck. But them? So, denial of mortality. Some people develop this mindset of denial or avoidance of anything that reminds them of their own mortality. So instead of dealing or thinking or feeling any of the emotions that accompany grief, they choose to ignore them and instead focus on the present and the pursuit of happiness. So some use this avoidance strategy when interacting with a griever, telling them stuff like, oh, he's in a better place, or God would never put you in a situation that you can't handle. Which these are not exactly comforting and they lack any kind of semblance of understanding. Right? So the grief of others may throw this avoidance strategy out of the window, and it forces them to confront uncomfortable thoughts and emotions they've been actively trying to suppress. The fourth one is emotional discomfort. Let's face it, grief is a kaleidoscope of overwhelmingly intense emotions, and witnessing someone else's grief can mirror these emotions within them too. And this emotional discomfort can maybe overwhelming for a lot of individuals, leading them to withdraw or distance themselves from you, the griever. And it leads them to avoid experiencing these intense emotions themselves. It's too uncomfortable. They don't want to deal with this. But it's important to note that discomfort with confronting one's own mortality does not mean that these individuals lack empathy or care for the grieving person. If anything, it highlights the complex emotional response and self-protective mechanisms that instinctually arise when faced with the reality of loss and mortality. And later on, we'll talk more about the compassion part, about how it affects you, how it can relate to you, and how it can relate to those who are trying to support you. Okay. So before I go on, does anybody have any? No, we don't give them a pass. We never give them a pass. We do give them empathy. We do give them compassion. I will. This does get taught later on. Do hang around, okay? I promise. I see we've actually lost some people. That's okay. This is gonna be a long presentation. Again, we have a replay later on. If you're catching this on the replay, I'd love to hear it. So the next one is abandonment and rejection. So let's explain the impact of the ghosting on grieving. Okay, how does this affect you? So abandonment and rejection. When a friend drifts away, it triggers feelings of abandonment and rejection, which can increase your grief symptoms. Duh, right? It's natural to internalize this ghosting as a reflection of your own self-worth, which leads to feelings of self-doubt, of sadness, of anger, which all the way are already internal and are at war, right? This feeling of abandonment, this loss or change in a close friendship will likely trigger intense emotional reactions and exaggerate their sense of loss. I'm going to give a few reasons why this may occur. So first of all is the attachment and emotional connection. Should have a separate slide and I don't. Attachment and emotional connection. So close friendships are built on trust. I'm going to put that in the comments actually to make it easier. You have nothing for them. Of course you have, I can't put them, I can't post them. Poop. Can I put them here? Hang on. I can. Okay, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write down, so abandonment rejection, I'm going to be posting right now in the group all these different things because I should have had another slide and I didn't. So the first one is attachment and emotional connection, okay? Close friendships are built on trust and they're built on mutual understanding and emotional connection. And when a friend drifts away from you, or becomes less available, it severs the bond and it leaves a griever feeling disconnected from their once familiar world. If you've established this deep emotional investment in the friendship, it's incredibly painful and underscores that feeling of abandonment. The second one is the fear of rejection. When a friend drifts away, a griever will likely feel rejection or inadequacy, and you'll question whether you did something wrong or if you're no longer important to your friend, right? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not important. That comes up a lot. And these thoughts can increase your feelings of abandonment and self-doubt, which then amplifies your sense of isolation, which you already have. Change and uncertainty. So friendship dynamics change all the time, such as when one moves, during life and transitions, evolving interests, and shifting of priorities. And let's think about how your life changed when you were married or when you became parents. Well, this change is a natural part of life. It can be difficult to accept and to adapt when it affects a close friendship. And this goes both ways. It's not just talking about you, it's talking about them as well. You get this heightened sense of loss and vulnerability. So grief is a deeply, deeply personal experience, and having friends who understand and empathize with their grieving friends' emotions can provide a sense of belonging and validation. However, when friends ghost you, it feels increasingly isolated, as there may be fewer people who can truly relate to you and your grief. It can deepen your feelings of sadness, of despair, and of loss, which then can provoke, and you'll kind of like become more even safe, self-isolate even more. You want to stay safe in your bubble while desperately despairing for someone to relate to. Friendships play a significant role in shaping your identity through social connections. When your main companion dies, when your spouse dies, you're going to naturally turn to those friends for support. However, when a friend goes on with their lives, leaving you behind, it causes you to doubt your own identity, and this increases, again, your sense of isolation. And this loss of connection to everyone you held dear is excruciating, as it leaves this void, which is difficult, if not impossible at points, to fill. Okay? We're now, just to remind you, this is talking about how this is affecting us. Thank you for the call. Yes. All right. The amplification of grief symptoms. So triggers and reminders. So when a friend drifts away, it severs that connection to the shared memories and experiences, which is triggering. Already everyday activities and places associated with your dead spouse can become painful reminders of what was, which just adds another layer of loss to your grief, compounding it, right? And if you're going through those same severed connections with the shared memories that you have with your friends and you're not there anymore, it just layers it. Friends are supposed to serve as a support system during times of grief. The hopeful expectation, especially after the funeral, is that they'll provide a listening ear and understanding and even, dare say, comfort. However, when a friend ghosts, a griever loses that crucial source of support. Now, this also comes up when an important milestone approaches that is dear to the griever. It is hoped and even anticipated that most friends will be aware of that 1-year death anniversary. However, there are other smaller but no less important milestones, such as their birthday or the Father's Day, or the first day your kid goes to kindergarten, or a class recital, or any of those milestones. those days when the loss of your spouse hurts terribly. But unfortunately, most of your friends won't have any idea of their significance. Or maybe they did. They just forgot. Because they will. You know the specific date and time that your spouse died. They won't. Does that make any sense to you? Pertains to family and in-laws. Yeah, it absolutely can. Yeah, yeah, you stick around a little bit. I'm going to segue a little bit into this, but I actually was talking to someone recently, or I wasn't talking, they posted on the group the fact that maybe it was you, I'm not sure. Yeah, it just sucks. It does suck. How the friends can ghost you, but family can too. In-laws are horrible at doing this, actually. And it's incredibly painful, especially if you have kids and you want to know how to deal with that. And sometimes you want to physically distance yourself too. And later on, I'm doing research right now about how to initiate those severs when you know it's important for you having your kids, having grandparents in our life, and how to initiate those severs and still have or some kind of connection with them or not have a connection with them, and how you deal with that. But that's another talk. Again, this kind of segues into everything. But yeah, it sounds like this hurts for a lot of you guys and you associate with this, which again, I'm glad, but I'm also so very sad for. I think it just slipped ahead. Oh yeah, sorry, I just skipped ahead. Loss of future plans. Okay, so close friendships often involve future plans, shared goals, and aspirations. Just as when you lost those envisioned experiences of when your spouse died, when a friend goes on with their life without you, it destroys what was left of your anticipated shared future. We were supposed to do that together. We had plans to do that together. We were supposed to go on this trip together, and all of a sudden it comes crumbling down. Grieving the past is already difficult, and now you have to contend with the grief of this potential future that will now never come to fruition. That is so true in so many different ways. And again, it culminates with those secondary losses. That's one of them. That's one of the big ones. Yeah, you have lost your entire future life, and it sucks. And honestly, and it's the way you find yourself again, and the way you rebuild, and the way you try to figure out how to get love for life again. You find yourself again. You find that new path. You find that joy again. It does happen, even though because again, you kind of did that old life that died with them. Then again, I wonder if it's ghosting for me. I don't call people. Maybe if I called, they would pick up. But I feel like they should be calling me and they don't. And I'm the one who lost my husband almost 4 months ago and had been solo parenting for 5. Yes. Okay. I will talk to them about this. I'll bring up later on afterwards as well. After you listen to everything. I'd like to hear how you feel about this after everything. But yes, you are ghosting them too. Totally. Absolutely. I mean, we just talked about this. You are isolating yourself because they've isolated you. You're already feeling isolated. They are pushing you away. You're like, okay, then I can't deal with this because why would I want to? I'm not part of their world anymore. All of this is like, what am I doing here? And so you bubble yourself. You're containing it all. You're within yourself because nobody else wants to hear it. Nobody else wants to be part of it. So you're going to contain yourself. You're going to isolate yourself. So yes, completely natural. But recognizing that is a huge, huge, huge step. Being here, listening to this is a huge step. Okay. So keep going. I will bring up later on too. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Love to hear what you hear about your thoughts after you hear everything. There's so much still to go. I'm trying to get through this quick. All right. So strategies. No, wait, did I pass one? I just passed one. Okay. Let's talk about prolonged healing process and delayed recovery. Yay. Prolonged healing and delayed recovery. So when you have a lack of support network, when you lose a friend, you also lose that role that would have helped you cope with your grief. Friendships normally provide outlets for emotional expression or to encourage healthy coping mechanisms. Support from friends should provide validation, understanding, and companionship during the grieving process. So when these friendships fade or they end, a griever can acutely feel that loss of emotional support, which can prolong the healing process and make it harder to recover. Reduce opportunities for expression. So friends often provide a safe space for grievers to express their emotions and to share their grief openly. But when friends drift away, grievers may lose an invaluable outlet for emotional expression. And bottling up these emotions or having limited opportunities to talk about their grief can hinder the healing process and impede progress towards recovery. And we'll get into later on about how you can find different ways to express yourself, okay? Impact on self-esteem. Friends play a significant role in shaping an individual's self-esteem and your self-worth. When friends drift away, a griever may internalize this loss as a reflection of their value as a person, which is something we brought up before. And this can lead to your diminished self-esteem. Like there goes your self-esteem, and makes it more challenging to move, to heal. Because low self-esteem hinders any kind of progress, which prolongs, again, the recovery period. And then there's additional layers of loss, right? Like losing friends during your time of grief just adds another layer of loss to your grief. So because not only are you mourning the death of your spouse, you're mourning the father of your children, but now you've lost these friendships, these relationships that you thought you could rely on. You know, as my son told me just recently, like it came up, and I never even prodded him for this, but he's like, I was talking about having to find new friends. We moved again, and we have to figure out a new community. And again, hey, I'm the griever, I'm the widow, something completely different. So he's telling me like, yeah, your friends left you right when you needed them most. Your friends left you right when you needed them most. I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. And going through grief alone is painful, and it's complex. And it's going to take much longer to recover when those relationships are severed, when you don't have that support network, right? That's why you're here. Okay, so let's go through some nice stuff now. So the strategies for navigating ghosting, okay? Unfortunately, I hate saying this, you are going to have to be the initiator here, okay? Because as we've already discussed before, there are a plethora of reasons why your friends, as much as they may want to help, they have absolutely no idea how to. And if they try and their attempts fail to appease you, then they're going to be at a loss for how to help. And in some cases, they're going to feel rebuffed and they're going to feel resentful. So what happens? They're going to stop trying because they can't see any immediate results. They're going to try something, and because nothing has immediately happened to you, you haven't automatically perked up and, oh, I'm fine now. They're going to probably feel that they have futile attempts. But you feel like that what they've done is futile. They're going to feel futile, and they're going to chalk it up as a problem with you not getting over your grief. They're helping. Why is it not helping to you? Okay, obviously there's something wrong with you, right? It's okay. They have no idea. You need to be patient, and you need to be kind, and you need to remember that they have no idea what you're going through. Okay? Now, for the most part, they're not intending to be kind. Those that are intending to be kind, and there are going to be some, regardless of whether they intend to or not, they intend to, whether it means they are doing it openly to your face, or whether they're being unkind by deliberately cutting you off despite you trying to reach out to them. You have to cut them out of your life. You cannot spend the energy trying to explain yourself to someone who doesn't truly want to understand you. That relates to anybody, in-laws included, your own family if included. Sorry. You have to settle on you and your kids. Point blank. You cannot spend the energy trying to explain yourself to someone who truly doesn't want to understand you. However, it may be that you do want to rekindle and foster some of the friendships that you had before your spouse died, which means you need to be able to tell them what you need. Now, remember also that educating others about grief is an ongoing process, and encouraging that open line of communication, and you have to be patient with your friends as they continue to learn and adapt to your needs, just as you have to be open to your own needs, right? Which leads me into my next point. I want to make sure, into self-reflection. I do see your comments. I just want to keep going because I want to come back to them in a sec. Okay. Self-reflection and understanding. So a lot of the time, of grievers here, whatever I can do to help, right? But the problem with this is that you as a griever, you're so overwhelmed that you don't know what you need help with. Now, most often, it's impossible to sit and reflect on your emotions and your thoughts, especially in the early days of your grief. However, as you move through the days, as you move through the weeks, as you move through the months and even the years, again, normally it can take up to 4 years normally 4 years. It can be less, it can be more, right? As you move through those times, you're going to become more self-aware of your distinct emotions as they detangle themselves from each other. This self-awareness will help you communicate your needs more effectively to yourself, which is so important, and to your friends. That self-reflection and understanding comes in here. And that happens with self-care and self-compassion. You need to take the time for self-reflection to understand your own feelings and your reactions towards the friends who have ghosted you. And I know at first it's really tough. Silence is very tough at the very beginning. Silence can be difficult later on, even years later. But you need to be able to find that time. You need to really sit down there and actually sit and say, okay, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I physically feeling? Like all of this, like this is all being aware of your own feelings, your own physical aspect, like everything we talk about grief there, like the physical, the emotional, the cognitive, the spiritual, all of that. You got to sit and take a moment, 5, 10, 20, hour, 10. Let's start with 10. Sit with that. It's important to process it. Okay. It's important to process your emotions and figure them out because you have to find that place of empathy within yourself before trying to encourage it in others. If you're mad, if you're angry, if you have bitterness towards yourself, then you cannot have empathy for other people, regardless of whether they deserve it or not. If you have guilt, that's something you have to deal with. If you have anger, that's something you have to deal with. If you have, I don't know, there's so many different aspects of grief. And I'm not to say, you can go to therapy for it, and therapy is very, very helpful for this. Absolutely. Do therapy, do the stuff, do the work. If you're done with therapy, if you're done doing the feelings, if you're ready for that next step, the next step is coaching. The next step is to figure out how do I go into that? How do I feel those emotions? How do I practice self-care? How do I practice self-compassion? How do I figure out the next steps? Okay. One of the things I do is a challenge. I've done a challenge a couple of times now. It's called Recharge Your Solo Parent Batteries. It's free. It's probably not going to come up for a bit, but it is coming up again. It's a week-long challenge. We have a pre-week, we have a post-week, so it's about 3 weeks in total with an actual week of doing the hard work. And it's literally us trying to practice that self-care and self-compassion. If you're interested in knowing more about it, let me know either through in here, and you can talk to me, DM me privately. But it's something that we do. Okay, it's one of the resources I have. This is getting long again. So communicating your needs and your emotions. So communicating your needs and your emotions. When a friend touches in and asks you how you're doing, you need to be transparent. You need to ask them if what they're saying is just a pleasantry, right? Or if they truly want to understand and listen to how you really are. There's that loaded question. How are you doing? How are you? They really want to know. Really? Ask them. Are you just asking that to be nice? Or do you really want to know? If they do want to know, then find that comfortable space and take them for their word. Take them for their word. Be a little vulnerable. We'll talk about that in a bit too. So you got to find an appropriate time and you got to find an appropriate space to have this conversation with your friends about your grief. You have to make sure there's enough time for a meaningful discussion. So like if the kids are off to school, take like an hour, if not longer, if you can, like an afternoon, honestly, if this is the first time, because this is big for you and for them. You want to have a meaningful discussion where you can express yourself without distractions or time constraints, right? As much as possible. You need to clearly and honestly communicate your experience of grief to your friends. You need to be able to share how it has affected you, both emotionally and physically. And you also have to be open about the challenges that you are facing, including dealing with them and the support that you need from them. Try when you do talk to them about this, and it's going to feel really weird. It's going to feel really weird at first, especially telling someone else your vulnerabilities, because it's hard to be even vulnerable with yourself, which is why you have to do it when you're ready, right? Doing the self-care, being a self-reflective, being okay with yourself before you can do this. Because when you're doing it, you're going to be vulnerable. And that's tough. And it's tough, especially talking to someone who doesn't get it. But it's important to be open about it because they need to be able to understand you. And you need to be able to understand them on their level too, and have a kind of back and forth to truly form a connection, which is hard. But having friends, if this is something that's important to you, if this is a person that's important to you, if this is a person that you think will be able to be there for you, but they have no idea how, you have to communicate with them, and you have to have that patience. You have to have that compassion. So there's so much more. There's so at this whole entire section about how to tell your friends what to say when they're asking how you're doing. Like truly, there's so much to talk about this. Where I'm going to take this whole entire conversation. I'm going to move it over to another video that I've done, which is all about that. Because otherwise, this is going to go into like freaking hours, and I don't want to do that. So seeking support from other sources. So you're going to find that you, for the most part, there's a lot of your friends, you don't really have that much in common anymore, right? Especially your spouse's friends. For that, like for instance, the one thing that you had in common mostly was them. And now that they're gone, you don't really have that much to have much in common anymore, do you? I mean, for me, I had one or two of his friends who stuck around, but we were completely two different lives. And they're going home with their loved ones. And I didn't really have anything to have. I wasn't going home to anybody. That's a completely different level. Some of them just started families. I just lost a major part of my family. Like, how do you even equate to that? So you got to find other sources of support, right? There's support groups. There's a therapist. There are retreats you can go to. Our own group. We have this group here, which is the free group, and it's huge. We have like 4,700 people, and it's growing. That's insane. Shows that we need support, right? We also have the smaller group. It's called Rise Like a Phoenix. It's a membership group. It's not free. It is low cost though. And we get together. It's a beautiful group. Like right now, I think we have 6 or 7 active members. Like it's tiny. I want to bring it up to 20. I want to cap it at 20 because that intimacy is really nice. And we learn together. We talk every week. I do coaching with them. If you want to hear more about that, I can certainly let you hear more from me. I can have you like get a testimonial or talk to someone in the group. It's a wonderful situation. But whatever it is, whether it be my groups, whether it be in other groups, whether it be someone down the street that you relate to, find them and be honest with them and be honest with yourself. Like you need that support. Okay. So I'm going to stop that for a second. I'm going to go, I should research how to help. Loved how to have to tell them they really love they should buy books. Yes, absolutely. And they could buy books and they could have research. And yes, they could. Tell you the truth though, I mean, I'm not sure if you've looked at a lot of the stuff out there, all the books and griefs and stuff. It is really hard to figure out which ones to get them because a lot of them are whitewashed. A lot of them don't really apply to you specifically as solo parents. I actually sat down about 6 months ago in the self-help section, and the grief section was about this big. The single parenting section was, I don't know, about this big. There wasn't a solo parenting section. Nothing. I looked it up. There was one. It was like in pre-publication. I don't even know if it's actually in the site. How do you find something that really relates to your situation, right? they're not going to gloss over a book unless they know for sure it's going to affect, and they know for sure it's going to relate to you directly because they care about you. They don't care about any other griever. They don't care about grief. They're not going to school for this. They're not going to read a book about it. They want to know from you. And this goes for like anybody, but that goes for your friends, that goes from your coworkers, that goes from your boss, that goes from your friend, for your family, that goes for your kids. They want to know from you. You're the most important one, which is why it all comes down to self-awareness and self-reliance and being okay with that and not having that bitterness. And yes, the world should be more compassionate with us. And I have a huge hill that I will die on. This freaking world does not know how to deal with grief, but they don't. And you have to be that change. And again, I'll talk into that a little bit later. I've had to cut some out. Yeah, no, I'm glad you cut some people out. And yeah, it does hurt because it's an ending. Endings hurt. Beginnings are tough. Establishing connections, establishing friendships are beautiful, and it takes work. So when that investment of friendship that you put into, you have to cut it off, it hurts. Because you're supposed to have been with them too, right? This is the people who are supposed to have supported you. And if you have to cut them off, that means you have accepted the fact that they can't help you. You've accepted the fact that they can't be there for you. And that hurts. Regardless of whether it's good for you, and it hurts. Okay, you've also said that sounds great. I'd love to know what exactly it was. It says that it sounds great. Was it about the membership? Was it about the lot? Was it about the other video? I got so many things I'm talking about. If you could specify what exactly you need, but what that sounds great is, that'd be fantastic. I'm tired of repeating myself. Okay, then you talk to me, and I'll talk to them. No, seriously. I will tell you. I will give you scripts. That's not a problem at all. Like we can talk later on. I mean, again, we have so many things I can tell you about what you can tell them, in a way that they will get it. And that's because, again, I've been doing coaching for so long now. I've been doing since like 2018. I've been doing it for 5 years. I am starting to actually expand my repertoire to talk to the non-grievers, because now I've got to that point where I can talk to grievers. I can talk to grieving kids. I'm now to the point where I can flip it and talk to the non-grievers. Like, hey, this is what they need to hear, right? Which actually is this presentation, I'm going to be flipping it for the first time. I'm going to be using this to flip it, to talk to the grievers, the non-grievers about grieving and how they can help. So anything you want to tell me that I can put in for that flipping of the conversation, I'd love to hear it. Going through this would make anyone bitter. It's hard not to. Oh, totally. Absolutely. What, you're saying you're 5 months into it? Dude, be bitter. 5 months, Horace, that's nothing. I mean, you got some time. You got lots of time to figure out everything. If you want to be bigger, if you want to be angry, those are honestly one of the first emotions you're going to feel that are actually actionable feelings, as opposed to grief or sadness, which is a very passive and all-encompassing. Anger is one of the first feelings that's going to get you going. So if you feel that feeling, you feel it, because that's going to make you get out of your seat, and that's okay. Ride it, go through it. Obviously don't be stupid about it, right? But ride it. It's so important. And this goes for your kids too. And I have this whole entire video about how to help your kids when they're too angry to ask for help. All about that. But for you specifically, feel bitter, feel angry, totally okay. Okay. The fact you're saying this, awesome. Continue talking. This is good. Oh, you want to do this role of parenting? Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So next time I do the challenge, which I'm hoping to do, I'll have announcements at the end of this presentation of what's coming up. One of them is going to be the challenge, just not next month. I love this. Sometimes I feel safer and better when I'm angry. Oh, totally. Yeah. Because you're expressing yourself safely for yourself, and you're letting your emotions are being, oh my God, I'm so excited. Your emotions are being heard. And that feels good. And I don't care if it's anger. I don't care if it's frustration. I mean, and there's the first ones, right? And then eventually you're going to feel things like happiness, surprise, like enthusiasm. Those all will come. They will all come. But anger is usually the first one. And yeah, it's safe. It makes you feel safer because, again, you're like, this is my bubble and I'm expressing myself in my bubble. I'm good. Eventually you reach out and it gets better. All right, I'm going to keep going. Oh my God, I love this. Thank you. Again, keep this conversation coming. If you're in the replay, don't worry. If you put any kind of comments in, I will come back to talk to you about it, okay? And this is awesome. Okay, so the importance of compassion and empathy, and I know you're going to hate this. Being sad makes you spiral into depression and thoughts of suicide, anger. Yes, yes. Sadness is overwhelming. Sadness is this big pit of hole. Sadness is horrible. Sadness you can be aware of. Sadness, it kind of drags you down, right? You can't acknowledge that. Sadness isn't all encompassing there all the time. It's always going to be in there in the background. Anger is productive. Anger makes you go forward. It helps you break out of that hole. It helps you break out of that seal. And yeah, it can make you more productive. Why do you think people listen to angry music when they were trying to get things done? Like freaking enthusiasm. It's enthusiastic. It's heart pounding. It gets you. That's what it does. Then anyway, I'm going off track. Okay, let's stick to here. So the importance. You're going to hate hearing this, but this is very, very important. The importance of compassion and empathy. So people, and you're not going to believe this, but people generally, they're a good people. Okay, they are genuinely empathetic, and they do really want to be there for you. At least in theory, right? You are absolutely going to have people in your life who you decide because of their actions or their inactions, they have no reason to be part of your life anymore. That's unfortunate that people ghost. It's even more terrible when it's your friends. And it's maddening when it's family members or in-laws who ghost. You have every right to be pissed and to want to kick stones and to scream. But honestly, it's not worth it. You have only a limited amount of energy now, and being depleted every day by just putting one foot in front of another, just breathing some days, and being the best solo parent you can be right now. Don't waste it on people who can't reciprocate. If they don't want to understand you, if they clearly do not want to deal with you, don't bother. Right? However, on the flip side, again with a flip, there is going to be people whose hearts are in the right place. Okay? They just have no idea what to do. And I can't emphasize enough, they don't know how to help. There are people out there, and I know you're angry, and I know you're bitter, and I know you're all the things, and it's so easy to write everybody off and say, no one cares. No one gets it. I get it. I care. People in this group, they care. Their heart's in the right place. People outside this group, there are people, I guarantee you, people who are non-grievers who are out there. They want to help. They have no idea how. They say, call me if you need me. In reality, you need them all the freaking time. And ideally, you need them to volunteer to do specific things because you need help with everything. But most people, they need direction. And especially if they have no idea how to help you. They're drowning. I mean, they don't, we just went through everything about how they have no idea, right? Of course they have no idea. But one of the problems I hear from grievers, one of the problems I find the grievers have is that when people ask them how they can help, they don't know what to tell them, right? There's just so much and it's so overwhelming. So you need to be succinct and specific. Here's my grocery list. Thanks. I need my walk shoveled. That'd be good. Go walk my dog. I hear the dog every day, like every day at 4:00. Can you be here and walk my dog? Be specific, right? People say, I would like to be there. People say, I want to be helped. Sometimes it's just like a throwaway. I want to be here. I can be here. But if you give it specifics, if you say, I need you at this time to do this thing, that puts them on the spot. And right there, that's going to tell you who you can rely upon and who you can't. It's a really easy test. It's horrible to say that way, but it's a really easy test. The good news is this separates them, right? You have now an idea. You siphoned out, test marketed, who's going to help you and who's not. And that's a good thing. That means you're going to spend your energy only on the people who you know that they are going to help you, because they have specifically, you've given that list. And here's where it starts to snowball. You give them that list. You say, here, do something for me. They're going to get it. And they're going to start seeing other things that you need to get done. They're going to come see that, oh, she needs it's snowing and her walking, shoveling. Maybe they'll do it. Because they're now more aware of it. They now see it, and they wouldn't have seen it before. Just like when you have kids, right? You have kids, you're going to see things that other parents will see that non-parents won't, right? And I'm constantly talking. Like again, segue. I was talking to a man. He was in the subway with me, and he had like this. He was there, and he's despondent, and he has this kid in like a carry-on. He used to be like a bike stroller thing that's in there. And it's huge, and it's a rush hour, and everybody else is around him. They're all kind of mad at him and everything, and he just looks so tired. And the kid's passed out, and she's not paying any attention. You know what I saw? I saw a little girl who had her backpack half open with her book half open, passed out at rush hour. You know what that said to me? She's coming home from preschool. She's coming home from her first year of kindergarten. She's exhausted. And I saw that. And so I asked him, first year of kindergarten? He's like, no, preschool. And we had a great conversation, right? I could have been mad that he was taking over the whole entire area with this stroller, right? I could have been pissed because how dare he be here on rush hour when everybody else has to get somewhere else? He was coming home from preschool with his daughter to get her some food in time. And he's now upset. He's now worried because she's had a nap, that he has to get her to bed later because she's not going to go to sleep anytime soon, right? You see these things. And their non-grievers are not going to see it unless you keep throwing it in their face. And you have to say, here you are. If they pick up on that, that's great. You need that. If they don't pick up on them, don't worry about it. Done. Doesn't mean they can't help in the future. Doesn't mean you can't keep trying. But after a while, you're going to be like, I can't deal with it anymore. And after a while, you're going to realize, oh, this person does. This person cares. This person sees, and they're going to help. Okay? This is what I mean about compassion. Okay, so there's so much I have more to say about this. There's so much more I can say about how to talk to people about the ghosting and how to help other people talk to you about this. And again, that's a whole entire video, and that's another hour itself. I've already gone too much about it. Where am I? Oh my goodness. And on. Didn't vulnerability. Did I want that? Oh my goodness. I'm still on the first slide, on the first point. I gotta keep going, guys. Okay. Express vulnerability. So share your feelings openly with your friends who have ghosted you. You have to express how their actions have impacted you. Let me try that again. Share your feelings openly with your friends who have ghosted you, expressing how their actions have impacted you. Be honest about the hurt and the confusion it's caused. By sharing your vulnerability, you may help them realize that the emotional impact of their actions. And let them know it's okay to not know what to do. It's okay to not know what to say. Just tell them that. Tell them they don't need to fix anything. You don't need fixing. You just need them to be there. You just need to know that if they're going to be there to offer help. And if they are, to please be forward about it, because it's so hard to even know where to begin, right? You let them know that you will take them up on that offer, because you're going to need as much help as you can get. Set your boundaries. If you choose to reconnect with your friends who have ghosted you, it's important to set boundaries moving forward. Clearly communicate your expectations for support and maintain that open line of communication. This can help rebuild trust and ensure that your needs are met. Okay? I don't want you to be a doormat. I don't want you to be okay. Like, if they're going to hurt me, it's okay. Have your boundaries. That's for any relationship, right? If you want to reconnect, if you want to reestablish, you need to know what you are able to handle and what you're not, what you're expecting, what your expectations of are. Okay? Because if it's clear, on both sides, that can help rebuild trust because no one is crossing over the line. And if they do, you can reestablish and go, no, this is the line, right? That helps build trust. Seek support elsewhere. Recognize that not all your friends are going to be capable of providing the support and empathy you need during your grieving process. You have to seek support from other sources as well, such as other family members, support groups like this one, therapists, coaches, online communities, retreats. Thankfully, there's a lot of different resources out there. From what I know, this is the only one specifically catering to solo widowed parents, which is its own unique situation. But there are other supports out there, right? If you decide that you don't want to work with me, that you don't jive with me, totally cool. I will help you find other resources, other coaches that I know that could help you, that you jive with better. If you do want to work with me, if you do want to try in my programs, if you do want to try anything that I have, I got so many things I can help you with, you guys, even if it's just this kind of stuff. Okay. All right. Let's go into the new one. And I feel like I've moved something around to support. Aha. Okay. So I have to go really quick. There's so much information. I'm almost done, guys. I promise. Okay. So the need for support and understanding during the grieving process, right? So you need to be able to foster I missed something. I already talked about. Okay. So the needs for support and understanding during the grieving process. The need for this is essential for grievers who are navigating the complex emotions and challenges that come with loss. So I'm going to go over the key reasons why support and understanding are crucial during this time. So obviously the first one is the validation of emotions. So grief can bring forth a wide array of intense and conflicting emotions. Duh. Having support and understanding from others that help validate and normalize these emotions. It's important to have that validation and that support, right? The understanding. It reassures the grieving individual, you, that these feelings are valid and that it's okay to experience a variety of emotions during the grieving process. Alleviation of loneliness and isolation. So grief often leads to feelings of loneliness and isolation, obviously, right? Having a support system, whether it's a friends or family or support group or whatever you decide to choose, it can provide a sense of connection and belonging. And it helps combat this sense of isolation, which we have been going over so many times. It can combat that sense of it by providing a space where the grieving individual can share their thoughts and their memories and feelings without judgment. It's a safe space for expression. So grief can be overwhelming, and having a supportive environment allows a grieving person to express their emotions freely and openly. It provides a safe space where they can talk about their loved one, can share memories and cry, or simply be silent without feeling the need to suppress or hide their emotions. Practical assistance. Support from others can extend beyond emotional support and it can include practical assistance, right? Friends and family can help with daily tasks, such as meal preparation, running errands, taking care of responsibilities, which allows you to focus on your emotional healing. Ask. This is what I need. Take my grocery list. No frills. That way. Milk's on sale. Guidance and perspective. Those who experience similar losses and have knowledge about the grieving process can offer guidance and perspective. Together, we can share our coping strategies and we can provide insights from our own experiences into how we have been grieving. And they can offer reassurances that the pain will gradually lessen over time. Grief is not fixable, okay? But it's something you do learn to live with. And I swear, the pain lessens. It does spike at points. That's going to happen. But that overall crushing sensation, that lessens almost to nothing. I promise. The validation of self-care. Grief can be physically and emotionally draining. But this makes self-care essential. Essential. I'm too tired. I know. That's why you need to have to take care of yourself. I have no time to do this. I know. That's why you have to make time for yourself. Having support and understanding from others helps encourage you to prioritize your self-care to activities that promote healing, which includes anything therapy. It includes relaxation techniques. It includes pursuing hobbies that are about you. It's about figuring out what you need now, right? And getting support from others to say, yeah, good for you. You did that. You took care of you. Long-term support. Grief doesn't have a set time frame. Okay? It doesn't just disappear after a year. You're not just fine after 3 months, 5 months, whatever. It doesn't have a set timeline. Average about 4 years. Not set. Be more, be less. Could be even less than 4 years, hopefully. Well, working with me, you'll probably get there within, I would say, 9 to 12 months. Sometimes 6. 9 to 12 months is usually the average. A heck of a lot longer. That's right. Heck of a lot shorter than 4 years. And I've known other people who refuse to deal with this stuff and refuse to be stuck in their grief. And they've been dealing with this for 20 years. They're not going anywhere. They're still stuck. But that means that you need that support that may extend beyond the immediate aftermath of the loss. You need people who are going to stick around after the funeral. That continued support and understand from the loved ones you have it provides that constant support of comfort, especially with the waves of the ups and downs and the feelings and the stuff and the everything that comes with grief. You need to have a continual comfort and support and understanding from people who get it. Okay, so we've talked way over time. Oh my goodness. It's now 11 o'clock. It's been an hour and a half, right? So 9:30, 11, yeah, an hour and a half. So conclusion, we're at the end here. How do you handle, okay, I'll get back to the second. Okay, conclusion. This is an opportunity for us grievers to foster our understanding, right? Okay, inclusion. We're understanding why people ghost grievers. It requires a compassionate and empathetic approach for yourself as well as others. It can be hurtful being ghosted, like unbelievably hurtful, especially during your grieving process. And it's confusing, but it's crucial to recognize that the people who engage in this behavior, they're probably grappling with their own fears and their own discomfort and their limitations in understanding and supporting grief. This doesn't excuse it. Okay. I'm no way or saying it excuses it, but it does explain a heck of a lot. I mean, honestly, if you didn't have to deal with this right now, you probably couldn't. You probably wouldn't. But this gives you an opportunity. Now that you're aware of this, and now we've talked about this, it gives you an opportunity as grievers to be able to foster empathy and create space for open dialogue where they can express their feelings and needs. Us as grievers can express their feelings and our feelings and needs while also trying to understand the perspective of our friends who've ghosted us. Okay. All of this really, what it comes down to is involves a lot of self-reflection. It involves a lot of vulnerability, and it involves a lot of clear communication. By sharing our own experiences, we educate others about grief, and we express our own needs, we express our own wants, we express our own desires, and we can help friends understand how to grasp this emotional impact of their actions and understand a deeper understanding of how complex grief is. It's important because by practicing forgiveness and setting those boundaries, these are essential elements of rebuilding trust and of maintaining healthy relationships moving forward. But it's also important to acknowledge that not all friendships can withstand these challenges, okay? So which means that you need to find support from other sources. Not just, you can't rely on the people that you thought you could before because they've changed and you've changed. You have to find groups of people, other sources that can support you. Surrounding yourself with those people who are empathetic and understanding is crucial to the healing process. Now, this is my big flag to wave here. So the core problem with this attitude is our society's inability to deal with grief. There's inability to deal with grief. And our learned ignorance, I'm going to start all over again. Oh my God. I'm so excited about this. I can't even speak properly. The core problem with this attitude is our society's inability to deal with grief and our learned ignorance of how death is a natural part of life and it should be normalized. We have little resources or knowledge on how to help young widowed parents. And as we are those young widowed parents, it's up to us to educate our friends and family so that they can not only support us in the first days of our grief, but throughout the rest of our lives. Which is exactly why I've created this talk today and why you are here, because you want to learn what happens and how to get the support you need. Everything you've learned here today, I'm hoping you can apply to your own life going forward, including your self-advocacy, which is all what this is about, right? Your self-advocacy. Don't be afraid to show your vulnerability once you figure it out from yourself, okay? Ultimately, through compassionate communication and education and self-care, us as grievers, we can navigate this pain of being ghosted with grace and resilience. There's this understanding that if you do something in anger, you're going to end up spending more time trying to fix it if it's something you want to be fixed. But if you do it with grace and resilience, then that fosters so much in yourself and compassion in yourself and in others. Because by fostering this empathy, by fostering this compassion, we can encourage meaningful connections and we can promote a culture of understanding around the unique challenges of grief, which ultimately promotes the healing and support for all of us who are grieving. It's not just us. We're not alone. It's all of us. So you stepping out and saying something, you being a self-advocate, helps all of us, right? Grief isn't something that's fixable. It is not a do it once and you're done kind of personal work. It takes work. And this is something that most grievers have to learn and then teach to others. It doesn't just magically stop after the first year or the second year. It evolves. You learn to live with grief as it evolves from painful mourning into the silent, constant, comfortable, supportive companion that reminds you of where you were and how far you've come. And though you are moving forward, you are never, ever leaving them behind. Okay? So your next steps. All right, so there are a couple of things I want to bring up. So first of all, there is the freebie, which I promised you was the condolences. Oops, I went back. Which is the condolences grievers want to hear. It is a resource, a free resource. Ages ago, over time, or I think I've asked people about this about 2 or 3 times over the past 3 years. Or I forget. Anyway, we've had over 200, 300, 400 responses about what terrible things have you heard. So I've taken that, I've distilled it. So I am into this spreadsheet in a sense, or it's 3 columns. Okay. It's beautiful. It's not just a spreadsheet. It's actually really pretty, but it's 3 columns. The first columns are the horrible things that grievers tell us. Sorry. The people will tell us as grievers, the horrible things that grievers hear. Okay. The second column is what they should say instead. The third column is why the change in mind shift. And if you go through this, you're going to see a lot of those there. A lot of those are doozies. And a lot of those you would have heard. I guarantee you've heard at least half of them. Maybe a quarter. But I'm going to say half. And then you can say, these are the things I wished you said instead. And this is why. This is why this change is important. This is why these words are important. And this is why you have to change it because of this specific instance. And it's like 2 pages of like, succinct. It's not everything. It's not all 200 responses. It's condensed. But it's good for 2 reasons. First of all, it's good for you because it helps identify exactly why you're upset with what they heard and what you would rather have heard it and why that's important to you, why it reflects on you. And the other thing that's important too is because it helps the other people understand what they said was wrong and why what they said was wrong. And it seems so obvious to us, but it's not to them. So that helps foster that kind of communication. Okay, so if you're looking for something like that, you're all going to get it because you're part of this presentation, because you're part of this, because you're registered for it, okay? The second thing I want to talk about is there are 2 other video presentations that I'm putting together, hopefully a lot smaller than this one. This was a lot of content. This is stuff I would want to talk about in this one, and I couldn't, but I'm going to talk about it in other ones. And the 2 of them, the one is called Empathy in Action. It's how to answer when people ask you how you're doing. I've done a video or 2 about this, so I'm going to condense those and put it into this one. I promise, I'm going to hope it's not going to be nearly as long as this one is, but it's going to help understand how to tell people how you're really doing and start those conversations. Okay, this is a much bigger conversation in general. And I know you're saying that you turn all the things, you're saying, I did all the things you suggested. I was very open and firm and specific what I needed and patient understanding. Your family members said I was using and abusing people by expecting help. They don't get it. Then they don't get it. They're in their own self-denial. They don't want to understand what you're going through. They don't want to understand what grief is. And they are just projecting onto you. Okay? Of course you're expecting help. How could you not be expecting help? Your husband died. How would anybody be able to know how to do that on their own? If somebody's mother died, would you tell them that they should not be expecting help to be there for them when they're upset? They should not have someone there to support them when they're grieving their mother? Flip that. It's no different. It's actually worse. It's worse than if it's your husband. And there's another huge long conversation about that. But because it's you too. You've lost a part of yourself. You've lost your identity. You've lost your future goals. You lost all of it, right? All of it. All of the secondary losses that come in. If your family members are the people who say, yeah, good, I'm glad you cut them off. Now, if later on they decide to come back and try to talk to you, you are more than welcome to try again and say, this is what I mean by that. You'll be in a different perspective too, right? You'll be able to come into this later and say, okay, well, I've learned this about myself. Maybe you've learned something about yourself. Let's try this again. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with opening up the conversations again. So if you're ready, if you want to know more, I don't know if you are. I don't think you are. I mean, I don't even think they are really for your personal situation. But if this happens for any other people that you want to talk to, who you think you want to establish those friendships and you want to know how to tell them really, I want you to come to this next or one of the videos I'm going to be doing about this. Because this video that I'm creating is not completely done yet, but it is coming up. That's the first thing. The second video is how to tell people how to help, which is, again, its own topic, right? How do you tell people specifically how to help? And you've talked about this too. Like, this is specifically what I need, but there's a lot more to it than that. I'm so traumatized by the conversation. It will take me a long time. Of course, it's going to take you a long time to open up to them again. Oh my goodness. They have just stepped all over your emotions and your self-worth. Why would you want to communicate with that? Like, no, you need to heal. Totally. Stop. Good. I'm proud of you. Well done. Applause. All right. So come on. I keep getting distracted. How to tell people how to help you. Again, this is more than just a one-word answer. This is more than just the little bits we've talked about already. There's a whole diatribe that I have about this, which I can't get into right now. You're welcome, of course. Okay, and the other one, I'm super excited about this one, guys. So I've been coaching since 2000. I keep getting my dates, but I keep saying, okay, 2014 is when my husband died. 2018 is when I started coaching, because that's when I realized, I have my own story there about why I started coaching, but it was 4 years into my group when I started feeling myself again. I started feeling this is my own identity. I started realizing I'm not alone. I started realizing I was helping other widows, and I'm like, I'm doing this. I am doing this. I'm helping other widows cope because no one was there for me. So since then, I've been coaching people one-on-one. Since then, I've been working very slowly and diligently, putting together a course, my signature course, my program. It's called Reclaim Your Life. It is extraordinary. It's been verified. It's been proven. I have worked with people through this, but through certain aspects of it. I'm taking the best of what I know works, and I distilled it into this course. I'm not going to talk about it now because it's too much, but I wanted to say I'm very super, super, super excited because I'm creating what is my baby. It's my next baby. I've been so hesitant to like kind of show it to you guys, but only because I'm doing this because I know it can help because it has helped others. I want to help you, and I have to get over this imposter syndrome and know it's not about me. It's not about my feelings towards my baby. My baby is going to do awesome. My program called Reclaim Your Life, it will get people to be where they want to be. It's going to help them find their spark again. It's going to help them figure out their new identity. It's going to figure out how get them more to where to be without having to wait that 4 years. Okay. And what I do is exactly what every widow goes through to get to the point they are. And hint, it's not the stages of grief. It's not, which is another topic altogether. So I'm super excited. I just wanted to give you like the heads up. I am going to be launching this up in the next month or two. I've been ramping up for it. I will show you the background stuff later on, but what I'm working on in the background. Super excited. I wanted to get you the first heads up. So that's that. There's your next steps. Oh, and the last one, if you want to talk to anything about this personally, if you want to talk about anything I just talked about, any of the courses, any of the free resources, any of the one-on-one sessions, any of the group sessions, I have so many different resources. And because I know you guys have different incomes, because of different situations, everything is tiered depending on what you need, whether it be like the lowest ticket item, whether it be really into the higher ticket item. I mean, there's steps. There's things out there that I know you can use. If you're willing to step up and say, hey, that thing, can I get it? Right? Ask. Self-advocate. I am not going to go chasing after you guys. Like, I am not going to be cold DMing you. I'm not going to be like hounding with things. I'm going to be saying, here I am. Hands outreached. You want it? I got it. You need to talk about price. We can talk about price. You can talk about what your resources. We can talk about anything. Whatever it is, I want you to know you can approach me. I'm not going to be scared of your grief. I'm not going to run away. Right? I've gone through everything. I've gone through my own hell. Okay. I have just recently witnessed somebody die in front of me again. Okay. Didn't faze me. I had nurses running back and forth, trying to deal with things, and they're on the ball. They were very professional. And they're on the ball, and they did what they had to do, and they got like CPR going, and the energy was ridiculously high. And it was down after that. It come down. They all go, oh, they're venting it out. I was like, cool. All right. Good job. You guys are awesome. I felt that. I was there for you. I understood it. I empathized with you. I support you. You guys are amazing. I was talking to each one of them, making sure they were okay afterwards, a couple of days afterwards. And the nurse came up to me. One of the head nurses came up to me. She's like, I'm so sorry you saw that. And I'm like, you know what, honey? I didn't say honey. You know what? I witnessed my husband died. I found my husband blue. Nothing will shake me more than that. Which means I can hear for you. Okay. I've helped others. I can help other people regardless of where you are at and regardless of what you're struggling with. I guarantee you, I will have something for you, or at least something that relates to it. And if it's something that's a bit more difficult, I will go out and I will find the answer for you. So I'm that resourceful. And I care. Anyway, if you want to talk about anything, talk to me, DM me. We'll get on a call. We'll see what we can do for you. I am so glad that you feel validated. So yes, good. Because this is what the whole entire point of this is. Thank you, both of you who have been here this whole entire time. It's almost 2 hours. I knew I was going to have trouble trying to keep it to an hour, but there's just been so much content. And again, I've taken some of this and I've put it off to other things. So thank you. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to let you know it's going to be the replay. You're going to get that resource. If you want to get the slide deck for this, I can get that to you. This pop-up group is going to go down eventually. I haven't decided how long yet. So after this, I want you to use the group to your benefit. I want you to put some more questions in. I want you to share your experiences about what you got from this presentation. Okay. I want to hear what validated you. I want to hear your experience. Everything you talked about here in this live, keep the conversation going. If the conversation keeps going, if it's active and people are going, I'm going to keep the group open. If it starts dying off, I'm just going to close off the group, right? If it's not needed, it's not needed. You are very welcome. You need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. I love you all, and I will talk to you later in the group. More likely tomorrow. I'm there all the time. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. Bye, guys.